From the Intellifluence headquarters in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, this is the Intellifluence Influencer Spotlight. In each episode, we sit down with an influencer from our network and we discuss their background as well as their unique approach to influencer marketing. Sasha Zvereva is a graphic designer, photographer, and runs the popular Instagram account San Francisco, capturing daily life in the city of San Francisco. Her photography knowledge and keen eye for design has helped her create beautiful visual stories that people want to follow. In addition to being an Intellifluence influencer, Sasha is an expert in travel, outdoors, hotels, fashion, restaurants, local shopping, automotive, photo gear, and other tech gadgets. She has a loyal following in San Francisco and California who love discovering new things. In addition to her Instagram account, Sasha provides a more in-depth look into life in San Francisco as well as her photography portfolio on her website, sashastories.com. I love your Instagram handle. Has the city of San Francisco tried to take it via eminent domain or something?
No, they haven't. There's only in a SEP, which is kind of like it's not city government, but it's like the big tourism board, all the restaurants. They just have their own. They had no interest whatsoever.
It's still very easy to remember, so good job getting on that early.
All right, so I guess I'll start off with the first question. How did you get started as an influencer?
So I would say I started more as sort of a amateur photographer in the days before Instagram became Instagram. And kind of the concept of influencer just sort of kind of stumbled in randomly, and I still kind of find it a very strange name or sort of category of a profession that people refer to as an influencer. But I think kind of the point where I stopped being amateur photographer and more of an influencer is when I just decided to share a lot more information about San Francisco and decided to provide more kind of guided information, kind of very specific spots, when I started tagging places, locations, when I started answering people's questions. Also, I think when I started the blog, potentially I would also say that was potentially more of like where I feel like it became more of an influencer because people started looking up to me and asking me questions on things to do and experiences to experience in San Francisco and sort of restaurants to go to. So I would say that was probably around like 3 years, I would say. But I've been doing Instagram photography since 2010, essentially.
Yeah, I was going to say, because as someone who's especially talented at telling visual stories through Instagram, my question for you is, what are some mistakes you notice other Instagram users might make? And do you have any advice that could help them tell better visual stories on the medium?
Sure. I mean, I would say the most important one is just mastering the skill of photography and sort of editing images, making them look really good and interesting. And kind of making sure that it's not just a random image that you put out there, but something that is meaningful, that other people would find useful, interesting, maybe it will inspire them in some form or another. But I would say just making sure the images are really beautiful, because I think that's what people respond to the most. And it truly captures their attention. And then if you have a bigger story to tell, once you have a gorgeous image, people will pay attention and they will read what you have to say in the caption.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's been your favorite partnership with a brand to date?
To date. So I had a really interesting partnership with Capital One recently, where it wasn't just me creating content for them, but it was also them doing a profile on me as a photographer. So they followed me around for a day, kind of just documenting what I do and doing a profile on me as a photographer. But it also related to the project that I did with them. They recently launched a money coaching series that they offered their bank. So I went through that personally. And I told my story to my audience, kind of what my expectations were, what my experiences were. And then when they did this sort of documentary about my work as a photographer, following me around the city, they also tied in my experiences of how money coaching has helped me sort of do my work better as a photographer. And it was interesting because I've been thinking of doing a money coaching session slash kind of business coaching session, which this turned out to be. And I just found it so randomly fell into my lap as a project kind of at the time when I was thinking about it the most. So I would say that was the most interesting, meaningful to me. And now if I kind of keep telling all my friends, you guys should go and try this. I think a partnership with a brand is great when you, even after you do your sponsored post, you still go around and tell your friends about it.
I spent some time on your Instagram account leading up to the interview, and I must say, like, I really love your photography of San Francisco. There's a real tranquil element to it. And so if you had to pick, what's your favorite San Francisco neighborhood? And then also, what's your favorite one to photograph? They might be the same, they might be different.
I really love photographing the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge. Sort of from Marshall Beach, I would say is my favorite place, or just sort of any of the beach locations with Golden Gate, just because that place looks really amazing, both at sunrise and at sunset. And also if you stay like an hour after the sunset, you sort of have the blue hour, and then once the blue hour passes, you have sort of the night. So you really get a range of photographs, and you also get to photograph with a tripod. So you can just sort of do a time lapse, you can do long exposure images. It just, like, creatively, it gives more, you kind of get more content that you can create sort of just being in one spot. So I would say it's that.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. So on the flip side of that question, Sammy,
you were gonna go for it.
Yeah.
What is the strangest influencer request you have ever gotten?
Strangest influencer. I think I don't respond to those. When I get weird, well, I did have one strange. I wouldn't say it's strange, but it was. I found it. I don't even know what would be the right way to describe it, but it was a request from this Chinese vodka brand out of China, wanting to promote in San Francisco. I kind of decided not to work with them because I've never had Chinese vodka. My dad actually has a bottle of Chinese vodka sitting on his in his like sort of liquor cabinet from a friend, and we're literally kind of afraid of opening because we've never had an experience with Chinese vodka, and I just kind of the brand didn't present themselves in a way where they offered for me to try it first. They kind of wanted to go into sort of like a partnership, a collaboration where I would be sort of responsible for creating content. So that was in terms of kind of a bigger, I guess maybe a bigger brand partnership that I thought was not something that I would be able to do without knowing that it's really good, and also without wanting to recommend something that I would never recommend or would enjoy myself.
So where do you see influencer marketing in 5 years? How will a brand be interacting with someone like you?
I just sort of looking at everything that's been happening in the Instagram world and the way it's been turning out, I think it's just going to be even bigger than it is now. It does not seem to be going away. So I think there will simply be more bloggers or photographers or professionals sort of getting into the influencer world. Or potentially maybe even everyone will kind of consider themselves an influencer a little in some sort of way, because I think a lot of brands now are looking at, again, micro influencers, people with less than 5,000 followers, essentially kind of all of their friends. I think there will be a bigger push in that area where brands will work with smaller individuals to create content, and I think everyone will just get really good at creating content. I think the same way as photographers got really amateur photographers or even non-photographers got really good at creating content, visual content like photography. I think in the next 5 years, everyone will get really good at creating video content. So I think there'll just be a lot more video content and brands incorporating their products into sort of video. And I think sort of that's kind of where it's going for now.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I've asked you. When did you kind of discover your love for photography?
I took photography class in high school as one of my electives for art, and I just fell in love. I did black and white photography and developed everything in sort of in the studio. We did film photography, we printed our own photographs. And then I went to art school for graphic design, so photography was kind of always, and art was always on my kind of on my radar. And I also, my degree is in graphic design and art history, so I've kind of been doing design as a profession. So photography was always kind of this thing that I was interested in, but even though I had a camera, I didn't use it because I was just so busy doing work and concentrating on doing work on the computer. And I think it was only when Instagram came around that I started to take more photos. But again, with my iPhone, and only later, I think 4 years later, I got a professional camera and just started shooting with the camera. But it's been a long love for photography.
I'm really jealous. I've never been to San Francisco. I really want to go. So many of my favorite old film noir movies, were filmed there, like Dark Passage. I love those kind of movies. And, back before color, that, they really were, shadows and angles and creating atmosphere.
I'd say San Francisco is probably one of the best cities to photograph because you have a range of city life. Every neighborhood has different architecture. Then you have I call it a city of 1,000 views because there's so many views and you'll probably never get through all of them. And then you have the nature and you have these landmarks like the bridges, the Koi Tower, the Transamerica. So as a range for photographer, I feel like it's the most ideal city to photograph in.
Want to join Intellifluence as an influencer for free? It's easy. Visit Intellifluence.com, click on the influencers link, and then click on the Join for Free button to sign up. Once you have registered, you will get immediate access to our influencer marketplace where you can browse relevant offers from brands and apply on the spot. You'll also be eligible to receive attractive product and service pitches from brands. There's absolutely no cost to join as an influencer, so we hope you take advantage of our service. Also, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and well, you know the drill. Until our next episode, keep being awesome.